Hey everyone, Jodey with The Ring Lord here. Welcome to Season 1, Episode 2 of our Beginner Weave series, Box Chain. Box is very similar in build to Byzantine, so if you haven't watched our Byzantine video, hop over there, give it a watch. There's lots of helpful info in it, and there's a link to it in the description. As with many weaves, personal preference plays a part in your ring size choice. I prefer somewhat tighter box weave, so my ideal AR aspect ratio is about 4.1. I'll put a list of ring sizes for this aspect ratio in the description, and I will be using 16 gauge, quarter inch, that's 16 gauge SWG 1.6 millimeter wire, quarter inch internal diameter in our saw cut copper and saw cut jeweler's brass. I'll also include links to a couple of Facebook posts that I made that show examples of the different ring sizes I have tested. So quickly, let's go through these examples I have. This is 14 gauge 5/16 in brass and copper, 16 gauge quarter inch in anodized aluminum, and the colors are black, titanium gray, frost, matte champagne, yellow, orange, and bronze. 18 gauge 3/16 in our lime and matte sky, 19 gauge 5/32 in yellow and purple, and 20 gauge 1/8 in our matte seafoam and light purple. And these are square wire rings in copper and brass, 16 gauge 5/16 and 20 gauge 5/32 in copper. A reminder, we measure our rings 19 gauge, that's 1 millimeter wire and thicker, in SWG, and 20 gauge, that's 0.81 millimeter wire and thinner, in AWG. Let's get started making box. Making box is very similar to making Byzantine. We're going to start with 4 closed copper rings. And 2 open brass rings. Now we are going to pick up these 4 copper rings that we just closed on the open brass ring, close it. And then we will do the same thing with the other open brass ring. So it goes through the same 4 copper rings, close the ring. Now, open a brass ring, and we are going to make a space for this ring. So you're going to pick up your piece like this so that you're holding all 4 of the copper rings, and the 2 brass rings are just kind of hanging out in space. You're going to flip those open, and with the open ring in your right hand, push down the 2 middle rings, the 2 middle copper rings. There's a space now. So you're going to go through these 2 copper rings that are also between the brass rings with the open brass ring. And make sure you go through the middle and don't go through either of the brass rings. Close your ring. It's a lot easier to do than it is to describe. So we're going to open another brass ring, and we're going to put it through that same path. So through those 2 outside copper rings. And close that ring. This is what your piece should look like right now. So if you watch the Byzantine video, you'll remember that the pattern is 2-2-2 flip. In box, it's 2-2 flip. So I'm going to show you how to make this 1 ring at a time, or ORAAT if you see it abbreviated anywhere on the internet. So we're going to open a copper ring, pick up our piece, and just add it to the 2 end brass rings that you just added and close it. Okay, so your piece should look like this now. Going to add another copper ring because everything is doubled. Just like Byzantine, every ring has a second, makes a pair. Okay, so I just added a copper ring. Now we have 2 copper rings at the end and we are ready to flip. So flip means we go back, we flip them apart. And you can see that when you flip it, the ring is in the same line as the other Byzantine rings. So if you're doing a pattern, a color pattern, and you want all this side to have this color, you'll see that you have the correct ring in place. So now we are going to add our brass ring. And that goes again between the 2 brass rings that fall out to the side. See, they make this V, and through the 2 copper rings between them. Okay, just like that. And we're going to add another brass ring. Same path as the one you just did. Close it. Okay, and you can also see that if you were doing a color pattern like I am, I can tell that I have these rings in the right place because they are in the same line as the rings of the same color. So that's our first set of rings. Now we'll add our 2 copper rings. So that's the second set. And once you have those added, it's time to flip it back again. All right, so flip. You can see that it's in the same line as the other rings. Now it's time to add brass. So this is it. This is the pattern for making box weave. Now something you will notice with box, you won't notice it as much in this aspect ratio because this is slightly tight, but you will notice it if you use a looser aspect ratio. Box can be squished, so you can move it. If you squish the side rings, it kind of makes the shape change a little bit. You can also make box it's called flat box. So you would use 16 gauge 5/16 as these rings. This is where I have the brass, and 16 gauge 1/4 inch where I have the copper, and it makes a very flat box. It doesn't squish either way. It only stays flat. So if you want to try that, that's a variant of box. If you want to put a clasp on, it depends on what kind of clasp you want to use. For instance, on this bracelet, I have a clasp that is a ring clasp. And so it is big enough to go through 2 rings, and it's big enough to clasp on to the other end 2 rings. You could also use a lobster clasp. So like I showed in the Byzantine video, I would simply put a single ring at the end, put my clasp on, and it will clasp on to the other end. That's it for making box. If you have any questions about this video or need help with a project, go ahead and email us at projecthelp@TheRingLord.com. If you have questions about an order or need assistance with a product, email customer service at orders@TheRingLord.com. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel by clicking the subscribe button. Have a great day.